Bitcoin is in free fall. Having a look at this morning, looks like they've taken away every single buy order in the world right now, and we're starting to see an acceleration in Bitcoin. Remember that when a dump is in play, the fast part is usually where we do get the end, right? But it's the speed up phase. This is where it gets quite scary, okay? And you can see a massive overreaction. Nonetheless, guys, Bitcoin is now at $81,000. Quite scary, right? And also looking at this too, I can see that if the dominance for the first time is dropping with Bitcoin, quite interesting, right? You see that we actually have dominance coming down, which for me makes it quite clear that this is a Bitcoin pullback, right? I think altcoins have been pulling back for the last while. This is the catch up on Bitcoin. And what's also very interesting is when the bounce comes, we are seeing a bunch of data here showing that it's very likely we're going to bounce back to 90K pretty quickly when the bottom is in, right? So we're going to speak around in this stream, where is the bottom? Right, very important. Alts are dropping, but they are still not below that wick. Bitcoin is currently the one that's really starting to rev down. And as I just go through lots of these liquidation levels, right, looking at the next 48 hours, you could see that here at $90,000 is where all the yellow and the liquidity is sitting, which means that when this market's ready to bottom or find a temporary bottom, we're going to speak about, is it done for Bitcoin? Is that the high, right? There's a lot to speak about in the show. There is going to be a very aggressive bounce, and that bounce is going to go and hunt out all of the shorts. And then we're going to speak about what happens after that phase. But as I just go higher and higher time frame, you start to see that these walls get higher, right? Look at the wall now that is sitting over here. This one's sitting close to $98,000 on the weekly. That is where all the shorts liquidations are starting to sit. So as price is dropping, many are shorting, right? We are going to start getting a very big unbalance within the market where there's going to be a lot more shorters than buyers, which means that when we do get to this temporary bottom, right? And I've spoken many times around the stochastic RSI, which is very important, right? The weekly stock is telling us, hey, there's acceleration this week, but we are going to get to oversold markets. And the very important thing here is it's like, you know, when you go to the principal office and you've had two kids that's had a fight, right? The first kid came and said, oh, this, and the parents are there and they're saying, you did this wrong, you did this wrong, you did this wrong. I feel like that's what the Bears have just done, right? The Bears have come and told their story. But what I think happens next is the other kids' parents come in and now they give their side, right? So there's been a lot of times where bearishness has been really aggressive within this market. And there's a lot of times that after that, we've seen bulls be stronger than bears, right? Very important. We still need to see the response and the bounce from these areas. Does not mean there's no more downside. We've got to go through that. But before you just get to the full conclusion, right, that it's only down or only red or things like that, just know that the other parents still have to walk in and still have the conversation, right? And that is then we start to make the decisions of where we're at. So guys, what we're doing in the show, right? I want to speak about the bounces. I want to speak about a couple of trades. I'm going to take 1 or 2 trades on this dip right now. I'm getting ready. We close, right? We close. We are about 30 minutes away from me going long in the market with a couple of leverage accounts. I want to speak about this with you guys. But then I also just want to not predict, but I want to give you my views of what I think can happen over the next couple of months, right? I'll look at the bearish and the bull scenario, right? But also just looking at this dominance still having a long way to come down, right? What kind of happens on this bounce? 2021, we saw a Bitcoin drop, right? Midway through the bull market. We saw us drop from $60,000 to $30,000, right? After that, we did see dominance drop from the 50s all the way down to the 40-something%. And we did end up having a big alt season, right? Or altcoin leg. I don't think there's alt seasons anymore. I don't think there's 4-year cycles anymore. I think that's all done, right? Bull legs, bear legs, sideways legs. That's where we're at, right? So I want to show you where we're actually looking at on that too, so that we can look at both scenarios and start making high time frame decisions, right? With the portfolio, what do we do with the long-term portfolio? So guys, let's spend some time today. Hope you're all having a okay day. I know it's red out there, but heads up, I'm proud of you for being here. Let's go.
I try and help everyone in my space, and this is what I get. I try and fight the devils, but inside I'm just like sniper. Welcome to Sheldon Show.
And fam, guys, starting off quickly with this over here. I put a tweet out this morning, and it's important, right? I first entered crypto as a carpenter, got scammed, lost all my money. Then I was left with a couple $100, right, to start my journey. I entered 7 days before the COVID crash, one of the biggest market crashes we've ever seen, right? I saw Chainlink go to 1 cent. right? And I ended up blowing up to 97%, which was quite crazy, right? At that point, 12 months later, I made my first $1 million, right? Obviously, just before that, my dad was still alive. I lost him to suicide and made a bunch of changes in my life, right? But ultimately, I left the city and I started meeting new people. Okay, 1 year later, I had my first $1 million. 2022 came, right? I was heavy invested in Luna and the Luna ecosystem. Many early projects that I get, and I was way too exposed. That plus the FTX crash, right? I lost, and I told you guys, I went from $2 million to $80,000, right? $2 million to $80,000 because I held everything, right? I held absolutely everything, right? 12 months later, I was my highest net worth, right? So it's not about money here. What I'm just trying to say is I also lost everything in COVID crash. I lost many in Luna and FTX. You know, these resets can make or break you, right? Today can either make you 10 times more conviction in this market, right? Or can completely remove you from it and go into other chapters and you never come back within your journey. You're going to make that choice today, right? Between today, between the next few days, these type of things. All that I'm trying to say is these resets can make you. They can be the beautiful pivots in your story of how things came, okay? And you know what was crazy? When I speak about that net worth, right, and I speak about losing everything in my portfolio, the first big thing was I changed the mindset. The second thing was I started trading again, right? This is where I started live tradings with you guys, and I started a bunch of different things, okay? And it was one position that changed everything for me, okay? Out of that 80K, I had a 5K account, okay? And this is when Solana went down to these areas of $8, $20 and things like that. And I did end up with a couple of smaller positions riding from Solana from $15 up to the $60, $70 range, right? Nonetheless, those trades got me back to a couple $100,000 off of 5K, right? Over time, my portfolio started to grow again. It never got anywhere near it did, but I started swapping things out, right? I started swapping some of my tokens for 𝗬𝗏, and I started swapping these things. And over time, the portfolio recovered, okay? And I've still to this day have not cashed out the portfolio. After the next run, when we eventually get it, I'll cash out, okay? But what I'm trying to say is my trading ability is obviously what got me to get there. So as long as you make the shift and the pivot in that this is going to make you, right? You don't know the full answers yet, but this dump could really give you an opportunity of catching something. And I've seen it multiple times, right? Of how a life just comes out of nowhere and just saves your butt and gives you that win you've been looking for, right? Each time I lost a lot of money, okay, but both times I beat the highs, right? Not only did I recover, I smashed the highs, okay? And that's a very important thing. Do not quit. Super important. Let's jump through a couple of things. Bitcoin is in free falling mode, okay? So this means that now acceleration, okay, gets the most scariest, the most toughest thing, because you shouldn't actually do much, right? Especially when it comes to your spot bags and long term. It's hard to see the losses, but to remove now and to exit now, you're going to be very angry when the bounce comes. When the bounce comes, that is when you make the decision on when to exit, right? So all of a sudden, if we see a bounce from here to back to 95, back to 100, then you can decide, okay, I want to offload. I'm way too exposed on my money in general. I got too much in crypto. Cool. I can offload a little bit, keep some cash, right? Because these things will take a little bit of time when it comes to recovery. Okay, so I want to go through a couple of things here. I just want to quickly speak around, the last cycle because it was important. There was two legs of the last cycle. Okay, the first one was Bitcoin's rally. Now, I think we can all sit here and say that the best token that has performed, over the last 2 years has been Bitcoin, right? It's quite clear. We've had a couple of alts that have done well. But when it comes to big assets, Bitcoin is really the one that had a bull market, right? Ended up going from $20,000 to $120,000 over 2 years or so. Okay, so the wave definitely started with Bitcoin and went full blast Bitcoin, and Bitcoin rallied up. Okay, and it's quite similar to what happened last cycle as well, but we had Bitcoin rally from the 4,000 all the way to $60,000, right? So this was the huge cycle reset, and Bitcoin took the lead. Then halfway through the cycle, so we were sitting around April at this point, we had this very big May crash, right? April and May crash. And I remember this because this was very hard to survive. Okay, there was a massive crash in 2 weeks. We saw Bitcoin down from $60,000 to $29,000. We found out that Tesla sold their Bitcoin. There was a whole bunch of different things. Very similar to how Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy is probably getting attacked right now, right? All of this like heavy stuff is about to come out, and that really creates a lot of fear. Okay, and if you look at this, once we got through there, we spent around 2-3 months. In that time, the weekly started to drag at the bottom, and then we had the response, right? And the response after that was Bitcoin then rallying from 30 back to 60, 68, 69. Where they trapped the entire market with this move was they made a higher high, which made everyone believe we're going to 100K, and that's when the bear started. Okay, now why did we see this mid-term kind of area over here? Because you got two categories here. You got Bitcoin, you got altcoins. It's quite clear that Bitcoin has had the run. It's quite clear that altcoins didn't, right? We didn't see ETH break all-time highs correctly. We saw it break to 5,000. We didn't see it go parabolic. We didn't see any of those crazy things. Okay, in this time over here, where the altcoins were, okay, was around these areas here. Okay, so alts did have a rally. They did do good. But in this time here, this is exactly the same date of where basically Bitcoin topped out. Right, and you could see that when that topped out and Bitcoin was coming down, alts still started to rise up after this. Okay, then we had this crash and the bottom. Okay, when Bitcoin went from that 29,000 back, this was the bottom. On the altcoins, it started to rally up. Okay, so the only two difference between this pump over here, okay, and this pump over here, right, was the dominance in favor, right, of altcoins versus Bitcoin. So in this first rally here, dominance, and I just want to show you guys here, this is where dominance was, right? So dominance, as I've been speaking to you guys, I think dominance has broken important trends, very similar to here, where dominance started to drop. This was the area over here of when we saw the top end of Bitcoin. But I just want to show you how in this stage, we saw multiple weekly candles of the dominance dropping. So even though we had a bearish Bitcoin, okay, we did end up having a strong rally. Now, what this thesis gets to, because I'm going to get to this piece here next, okay, is this is telling us that Bitcoin's high is probably in. Now, not to say that, and I'm talking about this specific cycle, because I do think we still have alts to join the party at some points. And then I do think overall market will relax a bit. I don't think there's 4-year cycles anymore. I think there's a couple month cycles. I think there's been a couple months of bearishness, a couple months of bullishness. And I think so things timing is going to kind of start to change over the next while. Okay. But for me, you know, Bitcoin is currently down 35% from the highs right now. In this dump, Bitcoin came down 55%. Right. And after that, we saw a massive explosion that released the altcoins that came through. So for me, I'm getting to a point where I do think Bitcoin's top may be in. Is altcoins top in yet? I don't think so. Okay. I'm very much against that, and I'm prepared, and my portfolio is designed for that. But I think Bitcoin's top is near. Now, there's two options again. This is why I said there's two parents fighting here, or two kids that are fighting. We're hearing the one side. We're not hearing the other yet. Right? Because this was still a mega drop off. Okay. And after that, we had a response. And the same thing can happen this cycle. Right? Where Bitcoin can now drop, let's say $70,000, $80,000. It can then go back to 130, and then we can go down to $60,000, $50,000 after that. Right? But there's still the 70 to the 120 that we have to pay attention to. Okay. And as I'm looking at things now, okay, I look at where we are dominance today. Right. And this is my take on dominance, guys. This is what I believe is going to happen with Bitcoin dominance. Okay. And my views, I still see Bitcoin dominance as being weak. And I only but seeing that through this stage here, I do see dominance continuing to the downside. Right. And I think there's going to be a pause point. And then I do think there is another push to the downside. So how does this look? The way this looks for me is the first part of this dump in dominance is Bitcoin actually pulling back. Markets are red. Okay, but Bitcoin, if you look at today, Solana and Bitcoin are down the same percent. We haven't seen that in a very long time, right? So right now, it's very clear that they're going for Bitcoin liquidity. They're wiping out the big guys now, right? The altcoins have been hit hard through the last little while, but now they're going for the massive big guys. So for me, the start of this drop here is a bearish Bitcoin, okay? In this phase here, I do see a Bitcoin bounce, and I still see the dominance dropping through. Okay, then there's a phase of a pullback after the bounce. Then I do think in this phase, Bitcoin approaches all-time highs. Either it's going to do a lower high or a lower low. So Bitcoin might only get back to 110, 115, right? And that could be the secondary high that can send us down. Remember, where I'm thinking we're going to go the next bear cycle, okay, is I do think Bitcoin goes back to the 60s, right? Maybe late 50s, late 60s. The only problem with that is it doesn't sound too bad from where we are now. It just takes forever, right? It takes forever for the market to go up again, right? So that phase still comes a little bit later, okay? But for me, this is still the play that I'm seeing when it comes to altcoins. And that's what's still making me think that, okay, the only thing that has changed recently, right, is I think Bitcoin's high is very close to being in. I think we're definitely in the phase, because that was the question. How high is Bitcoin going to go before they distribute the cash to the rest of the market, right? And sometimes, exactly like the last cycle we saw a little bit more strength in alts. We haven't seen as much strength in alts this cycle, okay? But we did actually see the real alt run. I don't want to say season anymore. We saw the actual alt run after Bitcoin dropped 50%. Because then Bitcoin responded. And when Bitcoin responded, we had full-blown alts, because now the top is basically set. Okay, so the only thing that these dumps that is now setting for me in my brain, okay, is that, okay, I don't think Bitcoin's going to 200K this specific leg right now. Maybe in 2 years, maybe in a year and a half, we'll see. Okay, but for specifically, no, right? Not for me. So this is the play here. Then going here to the total 3 as well. Right, this is what I'm still seeing as a scenario. The only thing that I don't want to sit here and say definite is where we're going to bottom, right? But I am in true belief, okay? I've seen a few cycles now, right? Or a few different patches and things like that, that we're still going to see something like this for the altcoins, right? Once we are done this stuff. So one thing that's good with alts is there's this trend and there's this trend. There's a lot of areas of where we can bounce. But I do think that we're going to see a nice aggressive bounce from this dip firstly, okay? But secondly, I do actually think we are going to see a strong catch-up rally from a lot of alts. This will be pretty quick, pretty aggressive, and then we go into bear market after those territories over there, right? So the difference now was, like, for me, when this next rally comes up, and we'll speak about that down in a sec, where we can bounce, where we can go, it's vital for me to get out of my portfolio, which is going to be one of the first things I've ever done in the cycle, right? For me now to sell reg, just crap. Like, for every investor that's made money before in their life, selling on something that is down 50% is not the right way to do it. You sell on green, right? When we get to the other side of the page. But it's telling me next rally up, because I'm now turning bearish on Bitcoin, that I think the next high is going to be the exit, right? For me, that it does also give me an idea that alts are going to be more aggressive, higher highs on the next one. It's vital for me to get out, right? Vital for me to bank a lot of my investment portfolios. I'll only turn it into Bitcoin and USDT, probably 70% USDT and 30% Bitcoin, because I want to buy Bitcoin cheaper back in the cycle, right? So these are my views here. This is my view of Bitcoin. Okay, so I do think we're going to bounce between 74 and 83,000. Okay, the confirmation will be in about 2-3 weeks from now. Okay, once we have bounced, wherever we bounce, and we break this trend. So this is sitting in December. Right, hopefully we get a nice push in Christmas time. Okay, but that will be the confirmation for me. Okay, that we're ready to go, you know, let's say December time. And I think Q1 next year can be quite bullish for crypto. Okay, but this is my play here. Bitcoin bounces in these zones. We rally up to the liquidity, which is between 90,000 and 95,000. Just to show you guys again, there is a lot of liquidity sitting in these areas. Every single time frame you go to, you will see that there's just yellow at the top, right? There is a lot. Okay, so that first bounce for me is going to be the aggressive bounce, where we bounce from here, and I won't be surprised in 2-3 weeks from now, Bitcoin's back at 100. I do think there is a trap then after that, and I do think there's a slow grind to the upside here. But this is not bullish. This, for me, is the exit, right? And it's just teaching you yet again that we don't sell red, we don't sell these things, okay? To be bearish, cool, but you still keep yourself level-headed and you still sell at the right points. We sell green, right? Very, very important. But this, for me, as it stands right now, it has turned me bearish from Bitcoin. Not to say we're dropping more right now, but this for me, exit within the market. Bitcoin dominance, this. Total 3, this. And I think that's it for the cycle. That I'm giving you my views where my head's at. Why? Because this is still very much motivating me. This is still very much keeping me in the game. and it's telling me that there's not much that I can do high time frame on my main portfolio, but I can trade the volatility that's happening within the markets right now. That is my play. When it comes to alts, right, this is my play. Just want to show you guys. Something like that in Solana. Once we get through here, I think there's a push. I think there's a rally. And I do think then death after those periods over there. But for me, this is the game plan. This is where my head's at. This is where things are going. Okay, now, next thing, guys, couple of things. Your mental test is going to be highly, highly, highly aggressive right now. Right? That's why I believe we've done the best thing we could ever do, okay, by opening Sniper Club for free to you guys. We have up to 1,500 people already in the waiting list. We start distributing on Monday, guys. Monday, we start releasing people into Club. In the next 14 days, you have a brand new family. This family is going to be there with people trading every day. There's going to be a lot of portfolio shows, a lot of bot shows, a lot of different pieces, but it's going to be a community that is here to say, going back to the tweet here, make or break, right? It's going to be those that are here to make it. You're going to be surrounded by those people in the room. So below in the description is the perfect time for you to join a community. And we have made, this was a community we charged for $100 a month for 2 years. It is now free. You get in with a Blowfin link. But to make it easy, you just click on here. It then takes you here. You click, I want to join the community. You put in your email and it sends you all the details that you need to verify and to get into the group. Do that today if you've made the decision that I'm going to make it, right? There's no better Black Friday special than us going free, right? Huge. And this is what it's about. Okay, so this can give you what you need to get through the next couple of weeks and to actually, again, I lost 90% twice before. I've made higher highs after both of them. This gives you the opportunity to do that. I had Craig, I had my mother, I had a bunch of people that sat with me every night and we traded together. Without those 10 people, I would not be here today, right? Now you're surrounded with hundreds to thousands, right? Which is incredible to have this opportunity. So go below, join this community over here. Okay, again, as well, if you do have some cash, get yourself any of the Black Friday specials. Bitfunded, funded accounts for leverage, right? You buy now, you buy 3, you get 6. 50% off. These don't expire. You can buy them and have them for the next few months, but at least you have ammo. When this market's cheap, you're not complaining that it's cheap, right? You're using it to your advantage. Okay, now let's jump into what I'm thinking today, guys, with Bitcoin at the moment. So Bitcoin is speeding up. I want to show you guys this in the 4 hour. Okay, which means the bounce is going to be quite aggressive. Again, first bounce will be fake. Second one, remember, everything I was showing you at the beginning of the show, high time frame. What do I think is going to happen next 3 to 6 months? What I'm talking about now is what I think is going to happen the next couple of days, right? To the end of the week. Okay, so anywhere now between these zones, Bitcoin's free falling, right? I'm pretty sure between the late 70s and the low 80s, we are going to see a bounce. Okay, and what you're seeing here is if you just by putting in this top trend line here, you can see we're starting to detach from original momentum. And when we detach from original momentum, it's telling you that there's a story that when the bounce comes, where it's going to go, right? So as this thing's dropping here, when the bounce comes, it's very likely we are going to bounce quite aggressively to this trend line. Okay, then I see 2 scenarios, either a rejection and then a break. The market's going to go hunt this liquidity at some point. And I do think the first bounce is going to be aggressive. So I think there's some trading opportunities in the next couple of hours to pay attention to. Okay. The second scenario is something like this. Okay. So again, when I see this gap over here, there's 2 choices. Either I can zoom in here and fight for an entry, or if you're really exhausted right now and the market's gotten to you, market's going to break out in the next 3-4 days. Don't even waste your time. Wait until this has happened. This has happened. And when that happens in the next few days, then you're ready for the longs. For me personally, I'm going to be fighting for this. This is a good trade. If I can catch good areas here to here, that can get me going nice and strong. Okay, when it comes to some short-term trades. So I'm going to be fighting this little short-term trends here. Okay, but it's your choice on what you're looking at. When it comes to the rest of the market, shorter time frame, dominance is bearish, guys. So bounces would be quite aggressive and quite strong on altcoins, which is really good, right? So things like Sol's coming to a hot zone for me. Okay, I am busy. You see when this thing dumps like this, right? I am busy getting ready. I put in this trend line and I put in the second trend line right here. I'm getting ready to buy Sol and I'm ready to leverage the crap out of it. Okay, I'm going to start off low, but as we break trends, I'm going to build nice and aggressive, nice and quickly. Again, these are skills you'll learn in Sniper Club, guys. It is there for you guys. Go join, empower yourselves right now. Make yourself smarter in these times. You make it back quicker than ever, right? But this is what I'm paying attention to. So if you're looking for trades on this bounce, the best thing you can do is track them as they're coming down now. We're not predicting where they're going to bounce. We want to catch them when they are ready to bounce. When something like this, you can see it's a couple of hours away, right, from the Sol trades here, right? Is we bounce, we here, we go. The risk to reward is so low because if I buy there, put a stop loss, that's 1%. Okay, but the amount of gains that I make on the bounce is 11. I'm playing with a very, very high risk to reward, and you only get those very high risk to rewards, right, where your reward is just worth so many losses, right, on big dumps like this. So as things are coming down, right, there's Dash coming down, right, I can jump to the 4 hour, pop this trend in, boom. You can see we're not far away from a Dash break, and if it's going to drop, it will keep dropping and stay below this line. I always tell you guys, where money is to be made is not on the left. Where money is to be made is on the right-hand side, right? So that line gets you in on the right-hand side, okay? Because again, everyone today is panicking, thinking about lows within this market. What happens if Bitcoin bounces them back at 94? What's everyone thinking then? Oh, the bottom might be in. Market's going to go up again, right? That's green emotions. That only comes when we start to see life in the market again. We start to see a little bit of the other team returning. So as you go down here, you will see that a lot of these altcoins, right, are literally tracking down. This is going to give you great trading opportunities to make money back quickly. Just don't blow yourself up before the opportunity comes, right? That's very, very, very important. Put your trends in, track them in, and take advantage. Again, what am I doing? I'm trading with about 2% of my capital, okay? But I've seen before in the past that 2% has ended up becoming bigger than my portfolio with a good streak. But I can't blow that up too early. So you just track them all down. I don't even have to go through the specials in this market. We all know everything is as cheap as it can be, right? But it is important to track and take advantage. As it speeds up, you can speed up the trends too. So what that means is that's the original trend, for example, on Doge, and now it starts to do this, right? You can then go and track this one. The closer you are to the momentum, the earlier entry you can get within the trades. Okay, this dude's a master trader. I'm actually not a master trader, right? I just know how to get my ass whooped and I know how to win after, right? Yesterday we played for one of Freddie, shout out Freddie, for one of the homes that we are supporting. We did a nice little golf day. The win came in and I shanked the ball so bad in the beginning, right? Fast forward, I won the event, picked up a trophy last night, right? So again, it's not about being a master. It's about going, knowing when to fish, and making sure your wins are so much bigger than your losses, right? I'm actually really not doing bad, guys. You've been tracking these portfolios with me, right? I'm on 49. I did give away 20% of this account 2 days ago. I took a break, but I'm in $49,000 cash now, right? I took this from 20K, right? 6 weeks ago. So I'm still up 107%, but nonetheless, I have money to buy the dip, right? It's not about how much I have money to buy the dip. I have money to trade this up. And I have money to trade this, make this 100,000s again, right? But the important thing is level-headed and keep rocking it, baby. Guys, have an absolute good day. Now, next thing I want to chat to you guys. In 4 hours from now, I'm hosting on 𝗬𝗬 Royale, right? We're having a trading challenge, which I think is going to be very fun, very entertaining in today's markets, right? I'm going to be hosting. I'm your new host of 𝗬𝗬 Royale, right? Which is cool. Okay, we got 4 traders, couple of guys that I met in Portugal that are traders. They're coming on today. They're all competing for 69 minutes. The cool thing, though, is I spoke to you guys about having a Gravity account. Make sure you have a Gravity account because we are launching a competition today that's for 10 days. I told you guys, just trade there. Winning, losing, you're accumulating volume. You're going to get an airdrop, right? But we are launching a competition today at the exact same time the other guys compete, which means that all of you can take $10, $5. It doesn't matter what it is, right? And you can trade against these guys today, right? I will be giving away a ton of Bitfunders for those who are performing well. For those who are doing good, I'll give away money, a bunch of these different things. But you have that opportunity. So go below in the description. You can find the Gravity link. Yes, so we got DJ and Dave, which is still the winner. He's still the reigning champion. We have a new guy, which is 𝗀𝗄𝗃, right? One of my cool guys that I met in Portugal. I've actually met him a few times a couple of years ago. He won the live trading competition there that they had a live one in person. He won that one. So between those two, it's big. I then got my mate Daniel from Germany. He's going to be trading as well. And then I'm looking for maybe Dylan, maybe 𝗬𝗱𝗻, maybe one of the boys to come in and take the 4th slot. But you guys get to be a part of it, which is incredible. You get to trade them. If you win, I can put you on the next trading show. Right here it is, Gravity link. Click on this link over here, open up accounts. Any amounts that you want to trade, there's an opportunity today. Let's have some fun. Let's keep things going and keep your heads nice and strong. Have a great day, guys. Lots of love to you all. I'll chat to you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.